welcome back to another episode of Let We Hear From Doc. I am your host, Amanda Japal, and with me is Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Claudius Mitchell. So, Dr. Mitchell, how are you today?
Yeah, good, good, very good. And of course, even better because of our special meeting yesterday, which in my view went down well in a general sense for the population. And the fact that it was being streamed, so many people, although we had a good crowd, very good crowd, impressive crowd given, and we had limitation in transporting people because of finance. We are having this on the social media platforms, tremendous amount of people would have seen and got the messages from so many speakers, which are quite important.
Well, you have had a busy last week. Now that you've stepped down as the leader of the opposition, how does it feel to step away from that role?
Yeah, I'm glad to hear you say this because you see, it looked like when you give up something, you should have less work. Right? So I like the fact that you phrase it. I had a busy week, and in the same tone, you said I gave up some responsibility. But I mean that is expected. I mean, the fact is what everyone must understand is after 40 years of service in any institution, given the level of activities that were done during the period of the NNP over the years, because I have been there since 1984 as General Secretary and Minister of Works, and then political leader, and of course, Prime Minister and Minister of Government. So you'd expect that there would be that sort of influence in several sectors of the society, and that is something that no one can quarrel, have difficulty with, because just it's a normal thing. And so also one would expect, and especially now, and I could say this because I am not very active in terms of title or position, except being chairman of the party, which is not as significant as being the political leader in terms of the politics. You would get requests from people from non-political organization to do things. Given that, as you know, as an academic myself, with my background as a science person, with my doctorate in math, you have people who are already calling on me and want to know if I could do this and do that and so on, outside of the country and inside of the country. So that would also be something I have to deal with, and therefore time and the fact that I have announced and continue to do so, to do my autobiography, give my life story. I think it's so important for the future generations of our country. Those of us who have served for different periods of time must write down our stories, and don't let other people tell stories about us alone, like what happened to Eric Gary and a number of our past leaders. I think it's important. I owe that to the country and to future generations. So we'll be spending more and more time, and hopefully I can finish that autobiography at the end of the year. So that has kept me clearly also so busy, and you know, the case of my own social activities, I always like my game of dominoes and around the country with my friends all over the place. So I will continue to be doing this, and I've already been called by friends involved in the Caribbean with West Indies cricket, knowing that my passion outside of my academic work, my political association activities, it's well known of my passion for cricket. So I'm being already called upon by friends in the region, different persons, about playing a bigger role. In fact, only last week I was called on by a major program on cricket in the Caribbean, and I couldn't do it then, and I plan to do it one tomorrow even with our friend in Barbados who has this regular program on cricket. So you're right when you say that I'm kept busy, and I kept busy because now I can do a lot more other things without restrictions because of my political activity.
I know you said 40 years, right? But what led you to your decision to transition out of this position at this time?
No, I think, well, well, you said it right in a way. 40 years, as you know, is a long
Very
time.
long.
Most marriages don't last 40 years. And although when you take a vow, you say, to death do us part. But people part between 10 years and 15 years and 20 years. So 40 years is a long time for anyone to be in any one position or area of responsibility. And I think what happens to a lot of us involved in maybe influential positions, so to speak, it sometimes becomes difficult to give that up because you seem almost married to that particular area. And I must say it wasn't an easy decision because clearly the emotionalism of what you have been used to and what you've tied to. But you see, I always have a practical overview of life. And I always believe you have to chart your own course instead of letting situation and circumstances chart the course for you and others being deciding for you what you will do at a given time. It's always better when you can make that decision and be comfortable with it. And clearly, as you know, and I suppose the country knew, that leading up to the general elections in 2022, I made it clear that and I expected that we would win. And I did say sometime during the next term that I would certainly give up the office of Prime Minister if I was elected. Then, in effect, I was saying I intended to retire from the position, not to say I'm retiring from politics, because I made it clear that I would always want to be involved, helping and advising as required, and so on. So that decision was made a long time ago. You know, if we had won, my decision was, and I didn't say so, but the plan was to go to see the 50th anniversary. That's the only thing I missed. I wanted to really be there as Prime Minister when the 50th anniversary of the country's independence came forward. So I have spoken about that before, and so that's not news to most people. So I wanted to do that, but it did not happen. And I have come to terms, I came to terms with this. It's not everything in life that you plan will work out the way you want it to work out. So I had to accept fate, so to speak. And I became very comfortable with the fact that that was it. But the question was therefore, now you are transitioning. And a certain leader in the region, because you know I still have very good friends who are still prime ministers in the region, said to me once when he knew I was looking at transitioning from the political leadership of the party to a new person. He said to me that person said to me that it's much easier when you are in government to transition without much rancor within the political organization. And I when he said that early stages of that that decision that I was going to make, but it came to pass that what he said was actually true, because I was somewhat surprised at the thrust coming from certain quarters for leadership of the party without any justification, any basis why you feel that you deserve it, as if people felt that they were entitled to they were the best person. And I had a friend of one of the individuals who were interested said to me, that I'm not going to continue, but he hoped that I am going to give the right person. So I said to him, if I did, who you think? And he said there's only one person that he saw. And I thought it was kind of very interesting to hear this, but it was coming from somebody close to that individual. And I said, well, that's your view. I don't see it that way. I feel other person in the party is a potential leader. And therefore, the decision, when I make the decision, I will be supporting someone who I believe has the interests of the organization and who will want to see to it that the organization continued to provide that hope and vision for the country going forward, which I espoused during my period of time as leader of the new National Party. So I made it very clear that I was not going down that road. But instead of people showing that they were interested and why you were interested, they felt that they had a right to it, and I don't feel anybody had a right to it. And so and you see, if you know, they know me, Amanda, that's one thing people know about me. Some people want to say something to you, but they don't say it. They go all around the shop to say what they wish for you to hear. That's not me. If you may not like my outspokenness or my robust approach to things that I see, but I would certainly do it. I have got enough political and other licks for my mouth, but that's life. On the other hand, I feel I have got some successes and favors for my mouth. You can have it all one way. So that is going to be continuously me. So one thing people know of me, I would always be a very expressive person. The minute you give me a mic, I'm going to talk, as I'm doing now. And it's not everything I say you would find that I should say. But that's me. It's just me. I want people to always understand, and Keith Mitchell always says one thing: he's not perfect. And if he makes a mistake, he's the first person to say, yes, I'm sorry, I should not have said that. But that's me. But some people like go around the bush and try to give excuses for something that you say, which certainly you yourself in retrospect would say that I shouldn't say it. But that's me. I would have, and I'll give you an example of this. I think this is important for me to say. I remember when I just came into government, I had difficulty with some issues of getting things done in the public service. Because I think the public service then was pretty hostile, generally speaking, to me. I did not expect the NNP to win an election, so I didn't expect George Brizan and the NDC to form government. That was my explanation for what I prevailed at the point at that time, whether I'm right or wrong. But that's how I saw it. And so I was given instructions as Prime Minister to do something, and it just wouldn't get done. So I made what I call a VOOP, so to speak, and the public service to send about 6-7 persons home on holiday. And so that became major news because some of these people were well-respected public servants. And I remember a few people came to me, even a certain priest was one of them, and said they wanted to talk to me, and came and said to me, I cannot speak for all of the persons that you're saying, but I know you made a mistake with a few of them. And he named me. He named them. And I did investigate and found out that he was correct. So I called in the individual persons personally, and I apologized to them personally because I was able to prove that they were not disrupting my initiatives and so on. And so I did that. But I told them, since the decision I made was a public one, that I was going to wait for the next Thanksgiving ceremony, because every October 25th we have Thanksgiving holiday. And the Prime Minister usually gives a speech at the service. We had it in Penmore in St. David's. I never forgot that. And I would apologize to them publicly on that day. I thought it was the right day because it's Thanksgiving. And I did so. And it took a load off my stomach. And some people feel sometimes when you apologize as if it's you lose something. No, you don't lose. If anything, you gain because you have taken out from your stomach and discomfort that you had, and that people would have seen and said to persons, look, I relieved myself of that burden. And so I felt free afterwards. And strange enough, I had a lot of people not necessarily supporters, some of them were not, who called me and complimented and said, I've never heard a prime minister come to a national function and radio and television live and apologize for something they did, which they knew. They came to terms with was not correct. So I'm making that point. I use that example to show the type of person that I am. I'm not afraid to apologize for some mistake that I made, because that's life. You only would do otherwise if you believe that you are perfect. And there's some people, at least one person in government today, who believe that they're perfect. And therefore they talk all sorts of sometimes unwise statements are made and want to stick to it and pretend, and they would never apologize. You've seen it on the, as a student of international politics. I watch countries' political activity, and there's some people in big countries, even when it's so obvious that you said something which is not right, want to imply that you're right and everybody is wrong. That makes no sense at all. You're not getting anywhere with that. I'm different in that respect.
Well, how do you think, going back to you stepping down as leader of the opposition, how did your constituents respond to the news?
Yeah, not nice. You see, I have a relationship with that constituency, as you know, for 40 years. Some of the people that are voting age today were like, they weren't even born when I was representing, and there is a mother and grandmothers and grandfathers and fathers were the ones I was dealing with, and they have inherited that personal relationship with me. So it's a bit difficult for them. So people have to understand. That's why I had to be so careful to massage them in the process of making a decision. But they didn't like it. But I had to assure them I'm not going anywhere. And remember, as I said and attempted to do yesterday in that meeting, so say long before I was actually involved in politics, I was helping in my own way, whether it's sports, as you know, as captain of Grenada's team, captain of the Windward Leeward Youth Cricket, been involved in academics. I was secretary of the First Grenada Secondary School Teachers Association, so I was active in sports, I was active in cultural activities and community work all over the country. I was involved and stuff. So what I'm doing now, it's not new to anyone. So that's why it's not so difficult for me to be able to do what I have to do in this particular time of my service.
Do you think Grenadians fully understand why this change was necessary?
Well, maybe some will, some would look at it as a positive initiative, a decision, but some also would not see that way. I mean, that's life, and it's up to me now and the new leader to do things to show those doubters that in fact was the best decision, and that is something for the future. We don't know, and I am always willing to provide advice and explanation to people who have their doubts one way or the other about this decision. But I'm convinced that it's the best thing. I'm convinced that the new leader has the ability and, of course, the necessary temperament to be able to bring serious success to that position and to lead the NNP going forward in the next general elections. And I certainly would give support whenever I'm asked. I would never want to demand or give the impression that my views must be accepted, because that's not real. Because the fact is, you have a new leader, new personality. We're not the same persons, and I'm not expecting that the new leader will do things like I did. Some of it may be similar, but a lot of it may not be, as long as it does not do injury to the basic fundamental philosophy of the new national party. So none of us should be having difficulty with this, and people should not expect anything different from what I just said, because that's what life is all about. So I don't think a lot of people. So going back to my constituents, because they're so used to that being as the leader over the years. It's an understanding that would have taken it that way, and I expected that. The problem I think I have more now is the question of whether I would be running for the next general elections or not. In other words, not being there to make the decision and to tell them right now that I'm not running again or that I will be running. That's usually, I would think that is the biggest thing right now. If I was to say that I am running in the seat for the next general election, I think there will be a lot of comfort from the constituents and maybe from a lot of people in the country, because a lot of people coming to me now, Doc, you've given up leadership, but you need to run in the seat to ensure for people, those are people that feel they would lose your experience and your hands on in the decision making process. They want me to be. I say, well, no, you have a new leader, so expect that they would have to make decisions independent of me. But they want to know that you would have a say or you'll be there, because they had that confidence in me over a period of time. The new leader is not tested in many ways, and she's on the learning curve. So it's expected that they will be thinking that way and so on. So I just have to do what I have to do in the process of making them understand that this change is in fact in their interests, in my interests, in the party's interest, and by implication, the country's interest.
Well, a lot of things is going on in my head right now. You know, the wheels are turning, because now I'm thinking, I wonder if Dr. Mitchell is going to leave. If you're going to leave, and do you have someone else that you're training now? Does the new political leader have anybody else in mind? You know, things like that. But let's go back to the same stepping down from the opposition leader thing, right? What do you think will be the biggest challenge for the new opposition leader?
Well, first of all, and anything you coming new, anyone, you have to understand, never assume that you have reached there. You're on a learning curve. It will take time. Don't expect to get the same reward of somebody who was there for 40 years or 30 years or 20 years. It won't happen overnight. But you just have to understand, this is your calling. This is where you are now. And the response will come, but it will come over a period of time. You just have to be consistent, be open, and be willing to tell people how you feel. Because you are not perfect. No one around you is perfect. And therefore, you got to be very honest and open with people. When serious decisions are being made, consult as much as possible. A lot of times when I just attained the leadership of the New National Party, I could say these things now. And when I became Prime Minister of the country for the first time, I never made a serious decision without calling some of the old heads, even ones that I disagreed in the process of attaining the leadership or the prime ministership. I call them and I say, I have a situation here. You know, if it was your person, I tell them what I wanted, what I think. If you are in a position like I am, how would you handle this? And ask them for the genuine opinion. Sometimes some of them might have been playing games with me and they give an answer. But I put all that in the pot and stir it. So sometimes when I come out with a decision, people don't know the amount of persons that I certainly sought advice from before I came to that decision. And I think this is something that any person who attain a position, a serious position in any serious organization that has enormous implications, like a leader of a political party would be, would need to understand that getting a wide range of views is important, because in the final analysis, when you get all those views and you make a decision, it's going to be yours. So when the credit comes, you will get all the credit. If it succeeds positively, so it means that you're getting all the credit, and no one will know. If it fails, you can't blame nobody either. You have to take responsibility. But you see, one thing about our people believe that no one is perfect. So even when you make a decision as a new leader in a position like Sister Pierre is, and it turns out that you make a decision that's not necessarily going down well, be honest and say, this is how I thought, you know? And I am not trying to play games with this. I genuinely thought it was the best decision. And if it turns out not to be, then we'll correct it and move on. I think that has to be the approach. So I think the new leader has a golden opportunity. You have now, which I didn't have when I attained leadership at the LNP, a number of young persons like yourself and a number of young Diali that spoke so well yesterday. You know, Vitaka as your PRO, and a number of young persons I know in my own constituency. I see them coming forward. So you have that. And then you have the experience and the talent. You don't, in the NNP, outside of me, I don't think there's anyone in the country that has the intellectual acumen of a Gregory Boyd. That's a fact. Gregory was a shining student to the University Engineering School in Trinidad. He managed Glen Lake as manager of Glen Lake during the most transformative period of Glen Lake, when we put electricity all over the country. It was Gregory's leadership and acumen with the policy of the government that I was leading at the time, and with a gentleman known as Dennis Campbell, who was the chairman who was appointed chairman by the government. Those three individuals, together with the workers at Glen Lake, had been, these are the untold stories. They should be continually lauded by the country. We had some workers at Glen Lake. These guys were so skilled, and not with high academic background, but skilled in the practical implementation of electricity services. So that any time there was electricity problem in any country in the Caribbean, Grenada's electricity team was the first one were called upon to come to those islands in the Caribbean to help restore electricity services in those individual countries. So I think that's going to be a critical approach going forward, and I feel that Sister Pierre is in the right position and has the right aptitude, and I think hopefully that she will succeed in going forward, and convincing everyone that she has the capability. Because there are some people, and I've faced it. Doc, woman can't do this work. I say your bias is still living in the 18th century. I don't believe so. So I joke around to say, but I wouldn't say it on television.
No, you're trending too much.
That some person that approached me and the answer they gave me, I couldn't believe it. I really genuinely, I was shocked. I left the person going home and I shake my head, I say, that's why you have to talk to people at all levels. You would be surprised some of the things you pick up from ordinary folks that you didn't think about at all. Never underrate the level of thinking from the average man you see in the street walking around.
So, looking back, what are you most proud of during your time in opposition?
During time in opposition? Well, first of all, I think being able to bring the team together and being able to speak with one voice on a serious issue of national importance, I think that's crucial. Being also able to understand that coming from government, it's understood that you're in a different position now. And you have to have a sense of humility to understand. You have to act in some ways differently on issues because you're now an advocate for different views coming from the official side of the equation. So I would say that we were successful in that sense, that we were able to look at things together as a unit and be able to come up with common position going forward. And I think there to demonstrate a sense of unity, I think, was important. So unfortunately, we had one member who literally sold a seat. Immediately we lost. We were in shock. The person clearly was thinking of themselves first and not the people. And I find that's something I think we have in our country. Amanda, that people, when someone does something like this, it should not just be the political organization. There should be independent people in the country who say, so who gives you the right to take people's vote and sell it? Who gives you that right? You know, and then you go in church and preach, playing that you're a Christian. You stand for principle and honesty and integrity. Where is the honesty and integrity? You come to me, tell me this party is so bad. This philosophy is so wrong. This is my philosophy. This is my party. This is my leader. This is my everything. And then the day you get a vote, then the results come out. You take it and you sell it to the complete opposite of what you said was not good for you. And people don't speak out sufficiently. And I honestly believe, that the time should come one day when our constitution should reflect. If you come to a people and say that I want to be, I'm running for this party, and this is the philosophy, and these are the people, these are my leader, and later on you want to join another political party, and so you should have to resign and face the people again. Now, there are limitations of this. I can't say that we had two cases who literally left the party. I think the second case might be slightly different because it was not the same thing where you went and just sold over to somebody. There's some fundamental differences, and so on. While it was not ideal, it should have been able to be resolved internally, but that's another matter. But I would not qualify the two situations as similar. There's some dissimilarities in there.
Throughout this whole episode, I'm just laughing. That reminds me of a story. And we all know the story of Jesus Christ and Judas, well, let's not go there.
Yeah, don't go there. Don't go there.
We leave that story for a different time.
That's right. When we're having a social drink and no camera out, Taka and all is not there.
Okay.
Yes.
I know you touched a little bit, right? But what were some of the biggest lessons you learned in opposition compared to being prime minister?
No, to tell you the truth, in this period, because I was in opposition twice, this period is different because I think going to the parliament of this country now is quite different when I was in opposition in 2008, 2013. The lack of respect for the rules of parliament is frightening. The President Speaker don't have a clue, and he takes instruction from one person. As if the person he does not accept the responsibility of being the umpire of parliament. So he's totally biased, and he doesn't understand the rules, and he doesn't care to even listen to or abide by the rules. And we have a lot of young, inexperienced people who have no respect for the system and for others in the parliament of the country. So it's a more difficult time to be in parliament now as a member of parliament and to see the level of debate. People stupsing in parliament and saying shut up, and the level of low level of behavior pattern I've seen it. And no one is calling it out. Because if I was in government and any member of my team does behave in that manner, I will call him up and say, look, don't tie me to that sort of behavior. It can't be stopped. You know what I mean? But clearly that's not been done. It appears that it's getting sanctioned from the top. And that's unfortunate. So I'm saying that's quite different. I've learned that sometimes it becomes very difficult to have to go to parliament and have to deal with some of these fundamental behavior patterns, which I think is inconsistent with the parliament of our country. And having been there for 40 years, I've never seen this. We have had much more robust debate and disagreements and sometimes real hot stuff. But at the end of the day, there was respect. And I think that's the difference I see at this particular time. In terms of the official opposition, again, you know that you're in opposition. You know your job is to provide critique of the government initiatives and so on. But if there's something that the government does which is positive, then you ought not to be seen as just opposing for opposing's sake. And that's why you recall when I lost the elections and I called the President Prime Minister and wish him the best and so on. And I said that I was willing and able, will, if asked, to give advice on serious issues that affect the country, not political issues, because I'm still a member of my political organization and so on. And he said he'll look forward to calling me and getting together with me on issues, because that's the first time he's in that position, and he knows he has no experience. And the next thing I know is he goes to a meeting and said that he had a call from me, the former Prime Minister, and he wants them to know that he never called me, I called him. So it looked like I was begging him for something. I don't know what I'm begging in the honorable gentleman about, but it's unfortunate that he did this, because there will be no such call again, and he has never called me, and I have never called him since.
Well, with new political voices emerging, what is your message to the next generation of leaders?
No, humility. Take your time. You know, sometimes when you're young, there's a bit of what do you call it, youthful exuberance. And I always think that young people, you have the energy, but always remember that some things that you see looking a certain color now in front of you may not necessarily be that color. So always take your time. And I think, first of all, you must have empathy for people. If you don't have empathy for people, don't go in politics, because you will embarrass yourself. It will show, and it's showing now. Some people are just in politics for themselves and the power it gives them, and the opportunity maybe to get material benefits to themselves, or to travel and to live the nice life. But you must first love people. I think that's fundamentally true, and you have to have this sense of humility. Never believe in yourself to the point that you believe that you're some special thing. None of us special in any respect. If anything, all of us special then, if you want to look at it that way. And always respect the next person close to you, because that person, and I always tell people, I say, guys, listen, one thing I've learned in being in opposition is this, being in government and in opposition, is that I always advise people and tell them, look, when you're going up the ladder, some people might be coming down. Please show them some respect and sense of empathy, because when you're going down, you might be the same people going up, and you would have a problem if you did not treat them well. So empathy, love, and also a sense of humility and accepting that you're not perfect, and there are others that might be even stronger, better in certain issues than you are. All these are fundamental advice I would give to young people going into politics.
Well, Doc, we're almost to the end, but you made a point that your political career has lasted longer than some relationships, some marriages. I thought it was very funny.
Well, for most marriages, I'm not talking about some.
Years.
Most marriages don't last. I think the statistics are there in individual countries all over the world. I mean, that's a fact.
So what do you think contributed to that length of time that you spend there? What do you think contributed to that?
I think to some extent, maybe, first of all, I think my grassroots connection. You see, having been, I think, when you get into politics, I think it's important that you have a history of community work, knowing the people from which you come from. And you could only know them if you have been around in several areas. So you get to have a feel for their strengths and weaknesses, because you have strengths and weaknesses too, but over a period of time. And in my case, I was able to be in all parts of the country, every part of the country, because being in cricket, as you know, captain in Grenada's team, I was all over the country, playing cricket and mixing with all levels of persons. And then as a young boy, when I left secondary school, because I played cricket at 16 for Grenada, right? I was one of the youngest player ever, and so on. And I was given a place on the additional members of the Windward Island senior team, substitute members at my first trip. So when the first West Indies tournament, youth cricket tournament came, the late Sir Frank Worrell was there, still alive. They constituted that first West Indies tournament. I was named captain of the Windward Leeward, all the islands in the Caribbean, in the OECS. Was given the opportunity to lead that team throughout the entire Caribbean. So I traveled all over the Caribbean. So I got another view of life. I think that also was a factor. And then being an academic, as you know, at the A-level successes and the fact that I was teaching at Presentation College and I was general secretary of the first Secondary School Teachers Association. So I was involved in academic work all over. And then when I went to Europe, I was also, and I came back home, was very involved in all levels of activities going forward. In fact, I ran for elections in 25 years, in 1972. So when I lost and I went out to study and to do my PhD and so on, and do some academic work abroad, it came back home. All that level of experience, studying life outside the country, studying life academically, studying life through sports, and being involved in community, it gave me that broad perspective of life and people. So I was able to be able to understand people's differences with my views in certain situations and be able to understand why these differences occur. So it wasn't easy. It was somewhat easier for me to be able to deal with some of the problems that you would encounter while you were in political office, being involved in the politics of the country. So I met challenges and I had to face them, and so all this helped. I think maybe in that sense, I don't think there was anyone else in the country then and maybe now who has had that level of exposure academically, in sports, and another aspect of life that I had. And running business in Washington, of course, gave me a perspective of business, the decisions that you make, and how helpful it can be in advancing your own material life, so to speak. So I think all that, I think, may have been a factor in maybe guiding my longevity in the political life of the country.
You made mention earlier, I think, that one of the difficulties that your constituents may have is you stepping down from representing them. Have you identified anyone, you or political leader, have you all identified anyone to take over?
Well, as I always say to people, in any job you have as leader, you would also, I think part of your success would be the ability to have persons to take up your position if and when succession must be there. And that's why I'm proud of the fact that they're able to do that within the party. And the constituency level, it's something, a work in progress. We certainly have identified. I'm quite sure there are people there. I have to first make the decision. I'm not yet going to go forward. I think there's such a general expectation that might be the case, but I have not done so. Because I value one thing: the representation of people must be extremely important, because they have given me so much over the years. They're the ones that stood with me in the worst of times. I would never forget 1990 when I ran, and I was being accused of all kinds of things. You mean the opposition then, and he was saying I was a member, I was involved in drugs, something. I never smoked a cigarette. I would want to have no friend involved in drug activity, but I was labeled and people were convinced that I was involved. The only people that stood very firm with me in all that, I would have, and they had a story of I collected some money from all kinds of, it was really nasty, dirty campaign ran against me. And you know what? The people supported me 70% of the votes in that worst times. And coming from 1984, where I ran for the NNP with Brizan with me, Alexis with me, Hubbard Blaze with me, and the whole team of the NNP. By the time we are going into election, the party split up 3 ways. Brizan formed his NDC. Blaze fired me and formed TNP. So technically, and I only got 60% of the vote against Gary in 1984. So in 1990, when the party split up in so many different pieces, I should have lost. I won 70%, 10 more percentage points than I won when the party was united. So I would never be able to forget the people of Northwest. As I had a meeting with some key members I brought together recently, and I said to them, I owe you everything. I wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't be the person that is perceived to be a successful prime minister and politician without your support and the loyalty and commitment that you have given me over the years. And it's an emotional thing. It's not an easy thing to stand in front of people and tell them this, because it comes from belly inside there. So I think they have been extremely good to me. And again, and one of the things I always judge people. If you're born and grow up in a community and the people there are not able to give you an endorsement, you don't belong in politics. That's my view. Yeah, because I think your success in politics is based on your relationship with people. And if you're growing up and involved with people over the years and you have not shown ability to care for them or to do things to enrich their lives or to be involved in helping in whatever way you can and so on, then it seems to me you can't just now decide because you want votes to become nice to people. You have to be nice long before that. And that to me is a way of judging a good politician, someone that has strong connection in his own community while he or she was growing up, as opposed to someone who just want power, in a position to get it, and just use the opportunity to claim that he is interested in people. He or she is interested in people. And that's a problem. And as you can see over the years, you can see the fallacy in something like this.
Well, Dr. Mitchell, that's all the time we have for today. I know you spoke passionately about your Northwest people. Just leave just a one minute. Just send a message to them. You served them for over 40 years, 38 to 40 years. Just give them a shout out.
No, I've been in their belly, so to speak, for a long time. They've given me everything. And I hope I've continuously done what I should do to be part of them and to do what I can. And I will continue to do so. Whether or not I continue to be their representative, that's not. I am always going to be there serving them and doing. And the good thing is that so far God has given me a reasonably healthy life, so to speak. I'm able to function effectively. And Amanda, this morning I did over 90 minutes at my treadmill. The only thing I didn't do was to go to the sea and get a good sea bath after sweating so long. So, and this is important for me. And so with that sort of physical health, I hope and pray that I'll be able to continue doing and serving them as long as God gives me that strength.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to our channel.
Show them.